That's odd. It's pretty late for anyone to be out. The moon isn't even showing. Everything's so dark, and yet you're here. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. I was just curious. We're quite deep in the woods, you know. It's a tad bit weird for you to just be wandering about. Unless, are you lost? Oh, me? Well, that's a slightly different story. I live here, in fact. You kinda just stumbled into my domain. But I guess you humans would call it a home? You probably didn't even notice when you passed the threshold. I don't think many humans would. Of course, I'm calling you a human. You look very human to me. Are you a spirit, perhaps? Oh, I guess I didn't make it very obvious. I'm so sorry. You can't even see me in this light. Here. That better? That's good. You see then? That I'm not a human, like you? My ears, my tail, they're the real deal. I promise. You look pretty stunned there. Never seen a fox spirit before? Or is it the wisps? They do look beautiful at night. Firelight is so harsh, so difficult to maintain. Just give these little guys a few little head scritches, and they glow for hours. Hey, are you feeling alright? You've just been standing there since I showed up. Maybe you're not as familiar with my kind as I thought. Are humans really not accustomed to spirits anymore? Oh, well, I am a fox spirit. Like a kitsune? Sure, I suppose. I can't really say I've ever heard that term before, though. But if that's what allows you to understand what I am, then I am a kitsune. As I said earlier, these woods are my domain. I'm supposed to be the guardian of them. Though, I haven't really had to guardian them. Ever, really. I inherited these grounds from my grandmother about 50 years ago. But by then, they'd been abandoned by humans. All that's left is this clearing and the little path that leads back to the outside world. Oh, I'm rambling. I'm so sorry. There's just not been much of a chance to talk to anyone lately. I'm still curious as to why you've come out so far from everything else. There shouldn't really be a single reason that any human would want to come out here. Which makes me think you might have a pretty special reason. Insomnia? This isn't a word I've heard before. I'm sorry. Do you think you could elaborate a bit? Means you can't sleep? So you went for a walk? It's so late, though. The sun went down such a long time ago. I'm not too familiar with the latest human customs, but I was under the impression that your kind was binaural. It's that bad, huh? Well, I know we've just met, but is it alright if I help you? Of course. You're very welcome. Come here, sit with me. Even though the grass is a little cold to the touch, it's not damp, so you don't have to worry about that. May I touch you? All right, lean your head against me, and at your own pace, not too quickly, close your eyes. You'll still see the light of the wisps through your eyelids, but they'll fade with time. Listen to my voice, okay? Don't focus too hard, but just process what I'm saying passively. I think I'll tell you a story. My grandmother once told it to me. It takes place a long, long time ago in a forest. This forest, in fact. You see, there was once this fox spirit. He was young, naive. A child had yet to even gain his first tail. This fox spirit had just recently inherited ownership of a domain. He was overjoyed. A domain of his very own, and one claimed so young. For the first few years, it was a dream. The fox spent his hours playing and laughing with the spirits that had passed through. In all this time, he had never seen a human, never even knew they existed. Years were spent with only the wisps and nature spirits to keep him company. With how secluded his domain was, it was a shock when the first human arrived. He was so afraid of them initially. The foxes of his family had very few nice words to speak of the outside world. But this stranger simply played and danced and laughed with the fox, just like the spirits. And in very little time at all, they became friends. Though the spirits were fun, they made for poor conversations. The little fox finally had an outlet, a friend he could talk to and share his worries with. The sun fell like a stone into a still pond, and just like that, the human was gone. Days and nights passed overhead, the young fox spirit hoping with every sunrise that his friend would come back. And they did. The friend returned in time, but they were different. The fox was closer to earning his first tail, sure, but the touch of years had barely changed him. His human friend was not so lucky. They could still dance and play, but less. They danced for a shorter time, laughed quieter, played, but without that same joy they had all those years ago. The years had taxed not just the friend's spirit, but their minds. They acted so differently to how the fox remembered, like an entirely new person. The fox was saddened at the change, obviously, but also they never got to see it happen. Never got to be there for his friend during those moments. That evening, the two tried to relive what they once had. That day that had nestled itself inside the fox's young heart. But sadly, they couldn't. It couldn't be done. So the human left. A goodbye was shared, a wish to see each other again. A wish that wouldn't come true. Sorry. I I guess it's obvious, huh? I lied. My grandmother never told me that story. The fox in the story it's me. That was thousands of days ago, though. I don't even know how many years. I even got my first tail. I still wish they could have seen it. Oh? You've already fallen asleep. I didn't think it would be that fast. Since you can't really hear me anymore, I guess that means I can be a bit more honest. I know we didn't talk that much. I know you just came here to clear your mind. And I know you didn't really hear much of my story. We never played, or laughed, or anything like that. But please come back soon. You're always welcome in my forest. Good night, and rest well.